Hello friends, how you doing? A big hug. My name is Piluso, and today I want to share with you an educational video where I show you how I have set up my Dolby Atmos studio as well as for normal stereo configurations. I'm using Apogee Symphony MkII SE. Wonderful interface. I'm going to show you how I set it up for my Dolby Atmos studio. We're going to be focusing on Apogee Control 2, that is their app that allows you to route everything wherever you want, and for instance combine it with Groundcontrol Sphere, that is an excellent monitor controller system. We're going to be talking about monitor workflows, speaker setup, Talkback, and many more things. This is part of a playlist I'm making of the Apogee Symphony MkII. I'll leave everything below for you to check out, and hope you enjoy this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and let's get cracking. So now that we have the Apogee Control 2 open, I'm going to teach you how to set up any Apogee gear and make it fit into immersive audio or also into any kind of other setup you need, and how to work with this great software. So the first thing is that our device needs to be ready up here, and you have a list of different devices that will show up here. You're also going to be able to find this software in my previous videos of Apogee with the Duet 3 and the Symphony desktop. So then down here we have the sample rate. We have to choose 48K. This is very important, otherwise Dolby Atmos, for instance, doesn't work. Then we have the peak hold and overhold, that has to do with the meters. Then the clock source, that if we want to have Apogee as our main clock source, we have to have it in internal mode. Then we have the output setup. This is very important because this is where you're going to select if your outputs are going to be for speakers, for active speakers, or for passive speakers. So if you have active speakers, you have to select the speaker row, and if you have passive speakers or passive monitors, you have to choose the line. Since I'm using 12 set of active speakers from Adam Audio, I'm going to be selecting 12 speakers right here. Then we have what is called workflows. You can actually use and route your speakers in different manners, which I'm going to show you in a little bit once I finish with this quick scan of Apogee Control 2. Then we have Talkback settings, and this is something that is awesome because they actually added Talkback in one of the latest updates, and you can choose as the Talkback source any of the recording interfaces you have plugged into your computer. So here at the studio we have several interfaces because we have lots of gear all plugged in and normalized into my session. For instance, I'm using the Symphony MkII as my main Atmos interface, but I have other instruments plugged in right here, or other mics plugged into other interfaces around the studio. So for instance, I could choose any of my interfaces and select the input source for my Talkback. This is crazy. This is something that's really top notch, and I've seen it on, like, for instance, the Groundcontrol Sphere that we're going to check out in a little moment, but I really haven't seen it on other interfaces. This is very generous of them because it lets you blend different brands. And then we have the Talkback button is right here. You could also use the remote control, which I don't have yet, but hopefully I will soon, and of course I'll make videos once that arrives, and you'll be able to just press a button and use the Talkback microphone without having to click on the software. Then we can choose how to route our SPDF inputs and outputs. We can choose if we want to replace any of our inputs of the 16 available with the SPDF, or we can actually mirror the analog outputs, which is great. We could have an extra pair of outputs available. Then we have our available inputs right here, and something that's really cool that also I haven't seen many other interfaces, I mean some other ones have it but it's not that common, is that you have a gain control and you have a fader. This means that you could actually saturate the preamp or the input and then bring down the volume before it hits your door, so you don't have any clipping and things that you might not want. Something to take into account is that I have the 16x16. I don't have any preamps on my interface, but I can choose between +4 or -10 dB for my inputs. This is great because this console is 45 years old and it works with -10 dBV. And for instance, if I want to plug in my external preamps from this lunchbox, it works in +4 DVU. That's something to take into account. That is very handy and very flexible. Then we have a trim. And if you had the 8x8 version that has preamps, you would actually be able to handle them from here. No problem at all. And the preamps on the Symphony are amazing. We have soft limit and we can flip the polarity and we can mute or solo any of our inputs. Then let's go into our outputs where this gets really juicy. We have 8 auxes, and then here we have our outputs, 16 analog outputs. So on our outputs, something that's very important is that we have to select the correct routing option. So we have to assign what we want to hear. And here we have the routing menu that we can click and select between software playbacks. So that means that if we are using the computer to stream music or Pro Tools, my 16 available Pro Tools outputs will be here. And then we have the mixer that we have those mixers right here we can choose from. And then we have direct hardware inputs that we can just send them straight to the output. Then down here we have speaker set. If you look towards your right, you'll find the monitor controller section. Up here we have the headphones that we're going to dive in just 1 second. But here we have the main speaker section. So we can select between 3 sets of speakers, and we have 3 shortcuts for monitor workflow that we saw before right here. So that means that, for instance, I have my first workflow is called Louis Atmos. Louis is my name. Nice to meet you. Let me know what your name is below. So what I have to do to be able to hear Atmos on all of my 12 set of speakers is select speaker set 1 for all of them. So that means that in this monitor workflow, I'm only going to have my Atmos mix. But for instance, what would happen if I want to just listen to individual sets of stereo speakers? Well, that is very interesting. I'll just click on monitor workflow, create a new one that we're going to call it W3 because of workflow 3. There we go. So now what I can do is, for instance, select that my left and right are going to be speaker set 1. I could select that my 5 and 6 that are the surround speakers will be my speaker set 2, so I could listen to my surround and rears just clicking on speaker 2. Also, I could select that, for instance, if I have the first set of speakers selected, I'll be listening to the front. So the 3 of them here, because the center and the subwoofer are also selected in speaker set 1, so I would have the front. If I select speaker set 2, I would have the surround and the rear. And if I select speaker set 3, I'll have the height. That is amazing. And the cool thing is that we can have lots of different workflows. So that means that if something new arrived at your studio, imagine a friend comes over with a new set of monitors and they want to just have them for that day. You don't have to change your whole routing system to be able to fit your friend. You can just plug in his set of speakers and monitors and create a new workflow for him. That's amazing. That's really fast. And then for headphones, we can select, for instance, for Atmos, we usually select software playback 13 and 14. That allows us to listen to the binaural mix. We can actually mute, dim, or sum both headphones into mono. Now let's open Groundcontrol Sphere that is going to take our Atmos settings way further. So Groundcontrol Sphere is a monitor controller software. I mean, it's not hardware. I'm controlling it with my Stream Deck right here. But the cool thing about this is that it sits between your computer and Pro Tools and whatever you're using and the Symphony from Apogee. What this allows me is to also have lots of different input sources available. And here I have the Sphere 16. That is one of the internal routing drivers that they got. But you could choose like Sphere 32, Sphere 64. Like in 16, I'm choosing 7.1.6 because when we were doing the calibration, we needed those 2 extra set of speakers. But since we're not using them, nothing happens, it's fine. We could also monitor something different from our input. For instance, I can have plugged in one of my synths straight into the Apogee Symphony. That would allow me to, for instance, select 1 and 2, where I have my Roland Juno Boutique, and be able to just click on it and be able to play, no problem. And I don't have to open a new session or anything. It's really quick. Then for our outputs, we have all of these outputs available, and here's where the magic happens, and here's why we use both things together. The Apogee Symphony MkII for my Atmos rig, and also this is why we use Groundcontrol Sphere. So Groundcontrol Sphere allows us to have bass management, and we can see it right here. If I click on this wheel, I'll be able to use bass management. This means that I can have different subwoofers connected, up to 4, and send each speaker to the subwoofer individually, so they can be full range. And also select the volume of each speaker, select the cutoff frequency, and not only that, but we can have plugins inserted to individual speakers. So when we were doing the calibration with the people with IAS, that they are immersive audio solutions, they have great people that teach lots of Dolby Atmos mixing in Spanish that I learned with them, actually. I'll leave their link below if it's something that interests you, and maybe you speak Spanish too. But yes, we did the calibration with them using this. Let me know below if you have any questions of how to set it up. It's very straightforward, but I would love to know your thoughts. What do you think about it? And I'll read you below. I hope you enjoyed this video. I want to thank Apogee very much for collaborating with me on this. I'm going to leave you a playlist on screen with every video I posted on the Symphony MkII and also other videos I made of Apogee, and a playlist of my monitor setup. See you soon.